What happens when you take two guys from New York who absolutely love to talk and give them a license to rant? You get your hosts, John Peasy and Mikey Sausage.
Hey.
What's up, my boy?
What's up, Mr. Sausage?
I'm a little tired today, but I'm doing okay. Hanging in there.
A little tired. Tired from the tired.
No,
tired from what?
I told you, I've been following up post-COVID. So I got my second. I still have antibodies, and this is July, and I have a lot of antibodies. I mean,
you got the number?
Strong positive. Yeah, like 157. Like it's a real high number.
No, I had the test, but I didn't get the actual number of antibodies. I either have yes or no. So I have the yes. I was gonna say, did you see that in the UK they were like talking about stopping vaccinations and stuff because of the problems they were having? Did you see that?
Problems with the vaccinations?
Yeah, in the UK they were like asking to stop it.
No, I didn't see that.
No.
I don't.
Yeah, I just
I don't like physical problems? Like they have physical problems?
Yeah. It's not something we should really get into, but yeah, interesting.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's a joke. Who wants to lose a platform over this?
No. So I do, because my resting heart rate ever since COVID's been a little higher than normal. And the cardiologist told me like he's seeing a lot of it. So, that's been a little bit of a problem, but other than that, I took a stress test, so that's why I'm tired. I had to run.
Oh, man. The only time I run is if I have diarrhea.
It's really bad, man. But, besides that, you've been busy. I've been busy. It's the summertime.
It's all good.
Happy.
Matter of fact, I'm going to have you and Johnny Galasso come over here. Going to have some sausage. Going to barbecue. I'm going to go in the backyard, go in the pool, have a couple of cocktails. I'm going to call Mike Morse. It's going to come over. It's going to be a fun time. I would love to have our producer Leland come over, but he's way too far away.
Yeah, Leland wears a Speedo. You don't want that.
Oh, then we definitely want him to come over. A Speedo.
So, why don't you tell me about our guest tonight, Johnny Pease?
Hey, this is super fascinating, as they say, because his name is Tony Rathman, and he is the founder and lead investigator of Entity Voices Paranormal Investigation. He's an EVP, which we're going to get into, and an ITC Specialist, and prefers direct communication over the paranormal devices for research with spirit communicators. He's been doing 11 years of paranormal investigations. And he was a skeptic until his wife asked him to try paranormal investigation. And the evidence that he captured on the first attempt led him down the path of constant paranormal research. So now him and his beautiful wife are in Phoenix, Arizona. Her name is Sherry Rathman. And they lead a professionally operated paranormal investigation into some of the darkest corners of Arizona and just about anywhere else around our country. And we are fond enough to have him here today. So please welcome Tony Rathman. And like magic, there he is. Hey, Tony, thank you for coming on. Hiya. How's Phoenix, Arizona right now?
Warmer than I like it. You don't
But
ever
dry.
want to be here June, July, or August.
But dry?
So, no, yeah, okay. That's what I was just going to say. But it's 115, but dry heat.
They always do that. I actually performed in Phoenix before COVID at the Chabad of Arizona for a fundraiser.
Yes.
It was a beautiful place, and I had never been there before. I was fascinated when you drove. It's so different, Mike. When you get to Arizona, when you get into everything is like deserty, kind of flat, and there was mountains and stuff, but everything was like deserty and flat and sandy, and there's these they build up these walls all around all the homes and stuff like this. I don't know if it's to prevent sand from blowing. I'm not really sure, but you don't get that here in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. You don't have walls around property. I don't know what that's all about. What is that all about?
It's so you don't have to look at your neighbors all day long.
I like it.
Oh, I thought that may have been part of. I think that was part of Trump's wall.
He started there. He's only halfway done. That's why. Matter of fact, he's going to need those walls over there. Arizona, they're dropping people off there. So, more importantly, this Tony, this is great. Now, Sausage, I don't want to cut you off from anything. Did you want to say something to Tony first? I'm sorry.
No, I'm ready.
No, I've been looking into Tony and all the things, him and his lovely wife. He has a beautiful wife, by the way, and they really do EVPs. Now, Mike, are you familiar with EVPs?
Oh, very familiar with EVPs, Chop Easy.
Okay, just want to make sure, because just so maybe people watching us do not know, and I was telling Tony a few minutes earlier, so maybe we should find out and have him tell us what an EVP is and what he believes it is, just where we have a nice transition into listening to some of them later. I understand it's electric voice phenomenon. Am I correct?
Electronic voice phenomenon. Yes, it's basically the transmission of on digital recorder, obviously without someone who has a throat or larynx or any vocals at all. So that's why they call it electronic voice phenomena.
Okay, so, and these are picked up when you folks are doing investigations at places that are supposedly haunted. Do you only go to places that are haunted, or can you find these EVPs anywhere?
Well, to be perfectly honest, you can get them just about anywhere. We've gotten them in a car going 75 miles an hour, and my wife's running a recorder. She'll literally ask a question. We'll go back, play the recorder back, and there's an answer there. And we are the only two people in the car. Radio's not on. There's no external disturbance or sound, yet there's your answer on the recorder.
And these things happen.
When you hold on, Peter. When you get these EVPs, from what I understand, you correct me if I'm wrong, they are in short spurts, no like long paragraphs or sentences. Is that true or not true?
No, they always say
Not
the
true.
Declaration of Independence.
No, we've gotten full sentences, 4 or 5 words. There is a length of time where I don't know whether it's an energy level or geographical, circumstances of environment, but there is a length to which they do eventually drop off. Yes.
But that's a great question. Are they short? But I was just, wouldn't it be funny if you got an EVP and they did the whole Bill of Rights? It's like this long thing they're going through. So
that was a very, very bad joke.
I don't think it's a bad joke. I think it's just hilarious if you had an EVP, a guy that was coming on really doing how about if he came on and did the whole Shakespeare, the whole thing? He did. That would be hilarious. What I'm wondering though is why are they short? Why is it that we can't get a longer sentence? You were saying because of atmospheric pressures, or is it because of the ability?
Everything that we deal with within the realm of the paranormal is based off of theory, because there are no experts in the paranormal. There are no answers, and anybody who has the answers isn't here anymore to tell us because they're on the other side. So we work within theory, and we work within basically scientific speculation of how things work here. But yeah, the theory is that there's only so much energy they have to answer in quick bursts. And when that energy is gone, it takes time for them to recharge that energy before they can do it again.
Which means that, are they feeding the energy from somewhere else to create it? Are they pulling the energy or feeding off of something to create the energy to give out to us to listen to?
Well, the basic laws of physics say that energy can only stay sustained if it has a source to pull energy from. Otherwise, it's going to change form, weaken, and dissolve. So in order for a spirit, which technically is energy, to be able to continue to exert energy, yes, would have to be pulling it from somewhere, whether that be geological rock conditions, whether that be running water, whether that be ley lines, or anything in between. There's got to be a source that recharges it.
What about from your equipment that has batteries or that's plugged into the wall?
They take it all the time. If you're in a real haunted location, you better be prepared with a backpack full of batteries because you're going to need them.
And now that makes you also start to think that if they're sucking this, are they sucking it out of us? And then also when you mentioned the law of physics, it makes perfect sense in our world, but maybe they're not in our world. So the physics, does the law of physics apply to them? That's another weird question. I know you may, I know I'm
No,
throwing that at you.
that's actually a great question. And you're absolutely right. We don't know what laws or even whether if our physical laws apply to them. We've seen them do things that, we could never do. We've seen them walk through walls. We've seen them appear, disappear. We've heard voices when there's not a single person in the room. So yeah, they have abilities that far outweigh what we're aware of here on the three-dimensional planet that we live on.
Tony, have you ever seen them physically move something, even in a little bit?
Yes, I have.
Wow.
And I have some clips tonight that I think you'll get a real kick out of.
Oh, good. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's got great clips here, and we're really looking forward to see that. I just wanted to get, like, I guess, a lay down foundation, because because I'm kind of familiar with EVPs. I remember listening to this stuff back in the early 80s and 90s and hearing shows about them, and always being fascinated by ghost hunters and paranormal. I've always been fascinated by paranormal, everything about it, from good to evil, actually. I mean, from God to Satanism. I've looked at it all. It's just interesting to understand our planet and how it all works. But in relation to this, just on a rudimentary level, for anyone that may not be familiar with EVPs or anything else part of the paranormal, how can you tell us, like, what is the basis this all starts out from? In other words, you and your team will go to an investigation. What are the equipment that you use, and what are the different ways that you try to discern the spirits coming into you? And then what do you do with it when you get it?
Well, that depends on a variety of circumstances. It depends on whether we're doing a historic location and we're just curious ourselves what's there, what spirits are interacting, what they're doing, or whether it's a private business investigation or private home investigation where the family's upset, they have children that are scared. So what we do depends on the circumstances under which we're called out for. But, normally we'll go and, we have a team of 6 individuals that are on the Entity Voices team, and everybody's got their own area of expertise. Chris has got sensitivity. Audra's just absolutely fantastic at getting spirits to interact through trigger objects and everything else. Cherie and I are focused on EVP and ITC work, and Ron and Lourdes, direct radio voice and a variety of other things. So it's a fantastic team. But what we go to do and what we're asked to do depends on the family that we're helping, or depends on the location, whether we just want to interact with them and see why they're there, what they have to say, what they'll share with us. And, like you said in the opener, 11 and a half years ago, I didn't believe any of this. And, paranormal shows were out and my wife was watching them and she kept saying, "Oh, you got to watch this. You're going to love it." I couldn't sit through 3 minutes of it. I was like, this is absolute BS. None of this is real. This is for television only. And then she comes up to me and says, it was Valentine's Day. And she says, "I want to do something different. I want to go ghost hunting." I'm like, "Oh, you're kidding me." Well, I had 2 choices. I could appease her wish, or I could have her mad at me until next Valentine's Day. So, of course, I played along. We went, and all I wanted to do was make her happy. And we went. She came home. She started reviewing the photographs, the video, the audio recordings. She was calling me over every 2 to 3 minutes. "Listen to this. What is that? What's in this picture?" I was shocked. I spent months trying to find reasonable and rational explanation for it and couldn't. So then we started going back. I said, okay, since I can't explain this, let's see if we can get it again. And we did. And we went again and again and again. And I think we went to that hotel over 50 times. We investigated it. Wow. And it never stopped.
It's got to be really funny. Imagine Valentine's Day. He's walking into a Valentine's into a hotel with a bunch of cameras and crews on Valentine's Day. What are they taping in here with this guy? Right? Imagine
We're
that.
the only
He's
people
like,
we're the only people that can spend a night or two in a hotel and show up with 28 bags.
But now, Tony, have you ever been at a location where the people, I guess if you were hired to go there, did people recognize someone's voice that came through?
We've had that happen many times.
So they can
We've had that
validate, wow,
happen
that's
not
that
only.
person.
Yep, we've had that happen on personal home investigations where they felt they had something in the home. They were worried. They've called us out. We've gotten their voice on recording, and they've come back and go, "Oh my gosh, that's my uncle who passed away a year and a half ago. That's his voice." So yeah, that's happened.
That's wild.
and then you wonder, have they tried to tell messages of good or bad? For instance, somebody dies and they say in the EVP, there's 50,000 cash inside the boiler room. Or, I mean, this could have an old Italian guy or something, or perhaps, and I'm not making light of this, Tony. I'm just, in all honesty though, but I'm wondering, could somebody give a positive message, or perhaps somebody give a negative message, like, I will get revenge on the person that killed me, type of a thing.
Yeah, you can get any array of messages, and there's one thing you take with you when you pass away, and that's your free will and your personality and your outlook. And the messages that we get are no different than if you walked up to a perfect stranger and started talking. That reaction is going to be different each and every time. Their attitude, their ability to want to talk or not want to talk, or tell you to get away or get out. So yeah, it's the same thing.
Hey, PC, so if they told Tony there's 50,000 in the wall, he's not playing it back for them people. He's going to say, "Listen, you people have to leave for a half hour while I clear the house."
Yeah, my response would be that recorder didn't work. Something must be wrong. Let's come back tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the Brooklyn in me.
But it's interesting too that as I'm thinking about this, when you have this kind of information coming out, you're saying that people are the same in life and they are as death. I think that's what you're saying, that no matter alive or dead, we're the same people. Apparently, after you pass and you're in this position of being able to do these EVPs, there must be another spiritual dimension that lets you grow beyond your earthly ego and behaviors. It must be a point where you move forward, I would presume, out of this trapped in this ghostly, I guess it's levels of spiritualism, or the house with many rooms, like you're at the lower level.
You're absolutely right. And it's a range of dimensions. And, people talk based on their religious beliefs about heaven. Well, heaven isn't a place. It's a dimension. And who goes there and who stays here, whether it be for unfinished business or whatever the case may be, but you're in a constant evolution stage of your own spiritual self, and you will pass through those evolutions. Maybe not the first time, maybe you got to do it again. Maybe you will pass the first time and move up, but it's an evolution for us as spirits, as entities of the universe. So, again, personal opinion, but how many times have you had a dream about something that you've never done before, and when you finally do it, you realize that they were almost identical to what you dreamed before you had done it? Well, how do you know that?
They call that deja vu.
Well, yeah, that's one term for it. Correct.
Pease, what you bring up, since my father passed, my sister had a couple of mediums, and it seems like the thing that always comes through is my father's personality. So that's really what I relate to. So, they'll say certain things. They think, "Wow, your father's funny," or "He's this," or "He's saying that," and so you can relate to that person because he's almost bringing through my father's personality. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's really wild.
Yeah, it is. And to answer your question about getting a voice back when you're trying to figure out what's in a place, I'm going to explain this real clip, and then if they can play the clip titled "The Camera's Not Working," this will be a great example of it. But we were called to a home investigation. They were scared that they had noises in their hallway. They had shadow figures they were seeing, and the daughter was at the end of the hall, and she was up all night because she was hearing and seeing things. So they called us in, asked us to find out what was going on. So we set up motion detectors, we set up laser grids, we set up EVP cameras, we set up night vision and full spectrum cameras. And then we basically walked away and said, okay, if you're here, let us know. And if you play the clip, I'll explain the rest.
Can you walk up and down the hall for us?
I don't hear any voice on that clip.
Can you walk up and down the hall for us? Can you walk up and down the hall for us?
Yeah, I don't hear any sound from it.
Yeah, I see the clip, but I see the word.
Can you walk up and down the hall
I'm not hearing any vocal on it. Well, while Leland God is working on the vocal on that, what's actually going on there?
Well, the people were very nervous, fearful, I guess is a better word, about what was in their house. So we set up all this equipment, let it run to try to see what we could capture. And the spirit actually, with all this equipment we had up, he went to the digital recorder and said, your camera's not working. So we didn't know that.
Can you walk up and down the hall for us?
Here it is.
Can you walk up and down the hall for us? Can you walk up and down the hall for us?
That is super clear.
So
that's super clear.
Right. We get this stuff home, and the first thing I did was grab the camera, because the camera was literally recording every device we had set up. And I noticed the camera didn't record. The file wasn't there. I'm like, what happened? We go to the audio file, and there's his voice telling me before we even walked away, your camera's not working. And then we played it for the whole.
To play devil's advocate for a second, 11 years ago, you'd watch these shows with your wife and go, oh, come on, this is such BS. They make it up for the camera. As soon as I hear that voice is so clear to me, the first thing I think is, oh, come on, did somebody just say in the camera's not working? It seems so clean. It's impossible.
Nope, it's not impossible. It is valid. When I was a young kid, my father was a physicist, chemistry teacher, and physical science teacher. I didn't believe in any of this. And my entire background was science-based. So, yeah, I was in the same boat going, no way, no way. And then until you experience it for yourself, it changes everything.
It's frightening, too, on some level. I think to think that there are entities here, and I guess some of them could be funny, some could be evil, some could be jovial and angry or happy, or for the most part, do you find them most happy or unhappy for the most part? Is there a percentage there?
The majority of them that we interact with are probably quite friendly. The whole television scenario that everything is demonic, I can tell you without a doubt that is not true. In 11 and a half years, I wouldn't even call it demonic, but we've ran into very negative entities twice in 11 and a half years of doing this.
And are you a religious person?
I was when I was younger. I pulled away for quite a few years. But you know what? When I went out to determine whether spirits were real, I guess what I found was mine.
And then you start to think about if you're religious, you think the first thing I start thinking about is, what do you do to prepare yourself to these encounters, to protect yourself from perhaps something that is demonic or evil or trying to attach to you? I mean, I'm wondering if they feed off us as human beings. I have a feeling that everything in the earth feeds off of one another, from the animal kingdom all the way up to things that we can't see feeding off of one another. I presume energy is being fed off of us, whether it's by good or bad. What do you do to prepare to make sure that you're not fed upon, attached to, taken home? If you're not doing it in a religious way, how you must be doing something.
Well, there are definitely protection prayers, and we use those and I quote, religiously, because when we first started, we've made mistakes. We had attachments. We had brought stuff home. So we use those on a regular basis. Plus there's religious items, there's crosses, there's rings, there's tokens, there's crystals, there's a whole variety of items, holy water, special salts, oils to get things away from you. There's sage, there's just a variety of things, and we've got access to all of it, and we do use it because you don't want to pick something negative up. And when you open the door to communication, you open the door to anything and you can't close it. So you have to be very aware of what can happen. And you said about using your energy. Yes, they can do that as well.
See, Peasy, if you weren't religious, you got religious real quick.
I know, but it's frightening. What he's saying here is you're getting the impression that, I mean, I asked him, are you religious? He goes, well, I was younger, I was, but not much now. But then again, he's saying, I got all these tools in case there's a problem. He has a tool chest of religious items, you know. And then the next thing that leads me to believe, Tony, is that if something does get attached to you, how does it manifest on you or your wife or your family? And what is the steps that you do to get rid of it?
Well, the first thing is to identify what it is that you have attached. If it's a human spirit, that's not so difficult. And we know we have ones in the house that come to communicate because we do ITC, which is instrumental transcommunication. It's using basically ghost boxes and other boxes that we've built ourselves to communicate with them. Human spirits, I'm not so worried about. They're not, we've never had any problem with them. It's the negative ones, the ones that might be lingering on demonic, that you have to take the right steps to get rid of them. And we've had to go out as far as minor rites to get rid of them, which is basically an exorcism.
Now, wait a minute. See, this is bizarro, because now you're going into an area that makes the whole thing much more crazy. You're saying that you have to actually, at one point, if it could be demonic. So obviously, you said if they're human, they're easy to get off. But if they're something else, what are they? What is the something else that you're speaking about? They are demonic. Well, what?
A demonic entity has never been on Earth or in human form. They don't know what it's like to be human. They've never been human. And it's a completely different entity than a human spirit who's been in human form.
Now we have a clip here. You could tell us about that, Tony.
Well, this was the old Phelps Dodge Hospital, which we ran for the last 4 years. This is a capture we captured with a DVR camera, and here it comes. Well, maybe not quite yet, but it is about 6 o'clock in the morning. We are not even up yet, and we're on the other end of the hospital. The light you see coming through is from the sun on the eastern part of the hospital. It's coming through the windows on those rooms that you're seeing. And then out of nowhere,
wow,
this walks out. And he steps away from the light, walks into the darkest part of the hallway towards the camera, turns, and goes back in the room he came out of.
Wow. Creepy. Really creepy. And do you think now? Say again, Mike?
If Tony was watching that before he started doing that, he'd say there's somebody down the other end walking, making a shadow, right?
Right. He would have analytically said that.
But it's so creepy. It was so weird though, because you could see the disturbance in the signal, like that little electric disturbance that came across for that.
You're absolutely correct. Not only did it affect the digital camera, but we had a FLIR sitting right next to it aimed down that hallway. This thing does not affect the FLIR image at all. There is no body heat. There is no temperature difference. There is nothing on the FLIR. And while this is running, We have obviously the DVR is recording all the cameras we had set up. My wife and I are still asleep on the other side of the hospital in the camera while this one, same exact time frame, this is running. We are the only ones with keys to this building. There is no one else in there.
Do you think that is demonic or just generically some apparition? Is it Clinton? Hillary Clinton. Is it like? I'm sorry. Is it like a? Is it good or bad? Do you looking at that? What do you think? And why is it that
There's
they have human form?
There's a lot of theory on what's considered to be shadow people, and the overall theory is that the majority of them are probably negative. Do I know that for a fact? No, I don't. So what's my personal opinion on this? Well, we were sleeping on the other end of the hospital and it didn't do anything to us. So the fact that it didn't do anything, does that tell me that maybe it's not negative? Possibly. We weren't harmed. We weren't hurt. We weren't anything. But it did show itself on camera, which is very rare.
But over the years, you've actually had physical manifestations on your body. You've been physically pushed, punched, scratched, hit, slapped.
Yep. In our beginning years. And one of the worst one was at the La Posada Hotel in Winslow, Arizona. And my wife made the mistake, said, if you need energy, use my husband's, and put me in a world of hurt for days.
Peasy said, you've been hit, spat, bit, scratched. Sounds like my Saturday night.
I know, but as he said that, he said, my wife said, use my energy. You know what that says? But you know what that says to me? That says that she gave permission. Is there permission had to be given in order for them to behave a certain way? And you're thinking?
It depends on the type of entity. Yeah, it depends on the type of energy. If you give permission, they'll definitely do it. I told my wife, never give that permission again.
Can you give, and can I, I'm just thinking, I could tell the entity, tell my wife not to spend any more money on the American Express card. I don't give her permission. I don't mean to make light of any of this, Tony. I just try to have fun with some of this. But I have to say, that, it brings up a really good point, because if you have to give permission for something to take advantage of you, I also see that in a lot of the writings and the information about I don't know, they say Illuminati, or they say satanic things or whatever, that you have to actually tell the person what you're going to do and they have to give your permission in order for them to take advantage of you. You have to be sheeple in some sense and lead them into the direction of the slaughter. I know that's a very broad term to say it that way, but I'm wondering if it falls down to a smaller level on the spiritual side, because what your wife did is exactly that. She gave permission for them to take your energy. Well, what happens if she gave them permission to physically hurt you, or to actually physically, cause you to do something that you wouldn't want to do? Do they have that much control? Question.
It depends on the type of entity again. She gave probably permission to human entities, which, because she gave permission, they used my energy. A negative or truly demonic, you wouldn't have to give permission. They will slowly take that permission themselves through weakening you, from depressing you, from putting you in a vulnerable state. So it depends on the entity that you're interacting with.
Okay, and we have some more clips here we'd love to bring up. I know I see that, I see on the side there, he's holding a machine. Looks like a great game machine almost over there. Can you throw that up, God? Can you show us where that is? I see it in the preview window.
Right in the frame. There are two people sitting on that bench. See them?
Oh, yes, I can see it. Yes.
So that was a FLIR image. There was an empty bench at the end of the hall we stuck the FLIR on it, and you can see the two silhouettes literally sitting right on that. It's like a park bench. And the one gentleman looks like he has his leg crossed, and the other one's sitting back with his arm out over the top of it. But no body heat.
They never give off body heat?
There's no body.
Only if you're alive, yeah.
Right.
Why are these spirits behaving the same way in spirit life as they did in living life? Do you have any idea why?
Who says there's a difference?
That's a good point. Touche. I don't know. I'm just wondering. Well, some of them have form, and then we also see things such as orbs. And orbs, I would presume, are some sort of a spirit as well. And if one is a ball of light and another one has a physical representation of a human body, what is the difference between those two?
Probably nothing, but they're not bound by time or space. They are pure energy and can change their form at will. They can change their location at thought. So they're not bound to the 3D world that we're bound to. They can travel in means we're not even familiar with.
That's really powerful.
I'm wondering if maybe some of these spirits don't even realize they're dead. I wonder if they get stuck.
That is a possibility. In fact, the theory is for spirits that are still hanging around, that's one of the theories from investigators, that, hey, maybe they don't know they're dead. And that's why people try to cross spirits over. We don't do that anymore because over the years, we've learned that they have control. They have free will. They didn't lose that when they crossed over. And if they're here for a reason, whatever that reason may be. And it varies from entity to entity, but we don't necessarily try to cross them over. If we're having a house that is complaining that something's scaring them, we have done that. We have removed them. It removes them from that location for a period of time. But just a month ago, we got a call from Vegas from a gentleman, and he played an EVP for me, and the EVP called out my name, said, "We're back." I don't want to say what it said, but it was a F you, Tony, is what it said to me. And that's what it said to me when we kicked it out of the location here in Phoenix.
Oh my goodness! Now, when you say something like that it's all, again, it's human behavior. They have a vengeance. They want to. You did something to me wrong. I'm coming back at you again. Okay, great. I get it. So it's human behavior. But when you say you're passing them over where? I mean, I don't think you would know. But and how do you pass them over? From this dimension to another dimension? From here to heaven or hell?
Well,
where are we going?
The theory is that if they got lost or didn't know they were dead, a lot of people believe that you can lead them towards the light and get them from being stuck here on the earth plane into heaven. And that's what investigators will say, well, we crossed them over.
I have a feeling for some reason that you're given some type of choice. You can come over here and be with everybody that passed before you and have a party, or, maybe some people want to stick around and make sure that people are good for a certain period of time. And then some people just, maybe it was his house, or he died there, or, he's just hoping to replay something that'll be different. So many different things that it could be that they stay there. It's got to be for some reason.
Human attachment.
You're absolutely right. Right. We have free will now. As human beings, we can decide to do this or not do it, or make any choices we want. We can affect our attitude, our behavior in any way we want. It seems like an absolute impossibility that if we can do that now, we would lose that just because we lost a physical body. You still have all those abilities, and to go where you want, or relive memories, or check on people you care about, there's absolutely no reason why you would lose that.
Or maybe they can go back and forth. Maybe they can pass through, if heaven is a dimension, maybe they can pass through that one dimension to the next, and maybe they're traveling all the time.
Correct. No reason to believe that they're not. They're not bound to time or space. They can do that.
you've been doing this for over a decade, and after it's all said and done, after a decade of doing this, how has it changed your living life and your daily life, having these experiences? You went into it, you didn't believe it, and then all of a sudden, wow, you're focused on it. You have hopium about understanding how this all works. It has to affect your daily life. What has it done to you as a person and you and your family? And what is the end game? Where does it scale to for you?
It's affected my daily life considerably. I mean, you look at everything differently. When you get information from an EVP, which, EVPs and ITC are my favorite, because not only do you get what they said, you can tell whether it's male, female, an adult, a child, what language they're speaking in, if they have a dialect. You can tell so much before you even listen to what they said. But that has a huge effect on my day-to-day life, because I know that if somebody passed away, they're not gone. They could be literally standing right behind me, and I may not know it, but they're there. That they live on, that they interact. So it changes your outlook on what you expect from the future, what you expect from the end of this life, and what you can hope for to continue on. It changes certain religious views depending on what religion you are. But if you take any religion and boil it down to the basic scenarios, the common grounds are what stand and hold true across all of them. And if you look at people, regardless of religion, that have had out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences, the similarities between them, regardless of religion or culture, match. So it literally changes your everyday perspective of what you think will happen next or occur after you pass from this life.
See, I see there's another clip here logged up. Maybe we could play that, and he'll explain to us what's happening with this as well.
This particular clip he's about to play is a home investigation.
Wow.
And the woman was petrified because she called us over there, and then she called us back a day or two later. And she said, "It's in the house. I can hear it. It's in the house." I said, "Set up a video recorder, let it run." When she sent this over to me, you couldn't hear what the entity was saying. So we manipulated the audio so you could hear it, but now you can't hear what she's asking. There's a first and last name.
Wow.
That I couldn't make out. See the shadow go across?
Yep. Oh, that's nasty. The laugh. It's not good.
So this was the entity we removed over 2 years ago, and I was saying that we got a call from a gentleman in Vegas, same entity.
Oh, the same. Is this an evil entity?
Yep, negative for sure.
That's a regular video recorder.
That's it's a like a DVR camera, like a home surveillance camera.
Wow.
I'd be frightened to hell of that. I mean, that guy, whoever that person was creepy for some reason. And he came.
This is the entity. Yeah, this is the entity that said to me, "F you, Tony. We're going to get you." And now, over 2 years later, 2 years, 3 months later, I get an EVP sent a gentleman in Las Vegas. First word is "F you, Tony. We're back."
It's John Gotti. It's John Gotti. He's right. Let me ask you something. When you said you had to manipulate the sound so you could hear the EVP more clearly, but then it makes the person in the background speaking not clear. So you have to change the levels of things to get him the EVP more clearly.
Correct. You're adjusting pitches, frequency, the speed at which it plays, and yes, so it threw. When we did that, it threw what she was asking it. You couldn't hear anymore, but it was more important for me to hear what it was saying.
And this is fascinating. So now, when the EVP speaks, did they all come in on the same sort of a frequency? They all come in faster or slower, or everyone is actually always different, which would be very frustrating because you can't set your equipment to one exact thing.
Well, we've been building ITC boxes for the last 10 years. And one of the things we try to identify is what frequency those EVPs come in at. We've noticed a consistency between 100 to 300 megahertz, but they are not all in that range. They will vary considerably. And then the speed, sometimes they're fast, sometimes they're slower, sometimes they're in reverse. And you actually have to play it backwards to hear what's being said.
And how are you going to know when you...
Yeah, I think that on that, when she's asking the questions, maybe you put it on the bottom right hand of the screen, what she's asking, because I'm curious to see what she's asking that he's answering.
She asked, like, why are you here? What's your name? When she said, what's your name? He responded, Alec LaBundy. Okay, that's not a demonic name. That's a human name.
Did you guys research that name?
Yeah.
No, we never got the opportunity to look it up. I mean, her home was actually an apartment complex. So, I mean, to go through everybody who's ever lived in that apartment would have taken forever. And unfortunately, we didn't have time to do that.
But perhaps it could be something even different. Maybe it has had nothing to do with this apartment. Maybe it's somebody that's attached to her and she's moved from all over it could be from San Francisco. It could be somebody from her past, somebody from her dreams. Who the heck knows? It could be, it seems so hard to probably research something like that clearly. I mean, it would be really easy to go back in the apartment for the last 50 years as opposed to someone's life or in connections with others. She has no clue who the person is.
No, there's so many variables involved when trying to determine things like that. You got to take the information that you're given. You can research history of the building and, what has occurred there. So there are certain pieces that will fit together and give you a little wider picture. But there are things that you just can't go any further with. But the fact that, like I said, this same voice on the EVP I received a month and a half ago, it's the exact same voice calling me out by name. And so I know it's the same one. No, it's the same.
I was even peasy. I seen like some of these investigations where people get attached to items like furniture, paintings, mirrors, clocks. There was one guy this woman bought at a yard sale a painting of a woman, and it happened to be this guy's wife, and he traveled wherever the painting went because it got sold a couple of times. So like they found out that this guy, that he was living, and he said, that's my wife, that's my wife, that's my wife.
Yeah, objects can be haunted. I mean, you can any object technically has the ability, depending on if there was a real attachment to it by a human spirit or any other. Dolls can be haunted. Mirrors. I mean, you name it. I can't think of any item that probably doesn't fall in a category where it could be.
If dolls are haunted, he's got some haunted house.
I'm a ventriloquist. I have a ton of dolls here, a whole bunch of them. If you want to call them dolls, I call them ventriloquial figures, however. Let me ask you, can I ask you a couple of quick questions, like with quick responses, because I don't want to run out of time. I was thinking about a few of these things this morning. Is there any chance in your mind that you can be being fooled by these EVPs, being duped by them in any way?
Absolutely. You got to be aware of that on every time you're communicating and what you're hearing. The biggest one that sends up the biggest red flags is when you're talking to a child. And especially if it's like a little girl child who's saying, help me, help me, chances are that can very easily be a negative or even demonic entity trying to bring out the parental influence to get you to help this child. And the next thing you know, you're in a world of hurt. So you technically, in the beginning can't trust anything. You have to be consciously leery of everything to start with.
What about the Ouija board, in your opinion?
The Ouija board likes to get a lot of attention through Hollywood and movies and television, but a Ouija board is no more dangerous than any other device that you're opening up communication to the spirit world. Once you open up that door, you cannot close it. You have to be prepared for it. You have to be prepared for what can come through, which is both good and bad. It's just another device. It's no different than using a spirit box or even an EVP recorder to try to get to communicate with them. It's a third-party device that's channeling energy, just like an electronic device or any of the other tools paranormal investigators use. Is it more dangerous than any of the others? I don't believe so. But is there danger involved? Absolutely.
Tony, do you listen to the EVPs right on the site, right then and there, or do you do it at a later time?
We will do both. We will do ones that are like a quick response so that we can see if something's in the room we're in. We'll ask a question, we'll play it immediately. For longer recordings, I mean, we use everything from multi-track recorders to parabolic mics. We'll let these things run for hours, overnight, sometimes days, and then we have to review, obviously, anything recorded.
All right, so that's what I'm trying to say. Do you have instant gratification, or do you have to wait a long period of time to see what the hell you got?
Well, anything from an EVP standpoint, you usually don't hear with the naked ear. At times you can, but not usually. So that means, yes, you got to play back the recording to hear the response. Whereas ITC, or instrumental trance communication, you can hear the response right away. You ask a question, the response comes through. You can ask another question based off the information of the response you got.
So it's in real time?
Correct. Real time.
So it's like catching a fish. Wow, I got one on the hook, and sometimes you don't. It's not like you put it out there and it always comes back exactly the way you want it. It's a long, arduous process to get it.
It depends. It depends on the location, depends on the timing, the day, the night, the moon structure, everything in between. I think I have a clip titled RSV Box, which will give you an example. Now, before he plays that, though, this is fragmented sentences, meaning not sentences, it's fragmented words. It's less than a half a second of audio of a word. So you're only going to get a syllable, if that. And you will hear full sentences come through this, which is an absolute impossibility. And I built this box myself. So go ahead and play that.
Are there any spirits here? 4? Spirits, if you are here with me, can you say magnificent? Wow. Spirits, can you say hi, Tony?
Here comes the best part where I asked what color shirt I had on.
The weekend, yep, it's the weekend. Where do Cherie and I regularly go to investigate? How many spirits are with me right now? What's our dog's name? Okay, I heard in the whisper, Loki.
Like I said,
you.
there's only syllables, so even words don't exist.
How do you hear me communicate with you?
Here it comes.
Do you like it when I talk with you? What color shirt do I have on?
Wow, that's freakish.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank
and like
you
I
for
said,
communicating with me.
there are only fragments, less than a half a second of a syllable, but yet to get
Is
a
that-
full sentence, it looks gray. Not
Is
possible.
that in your house?
Yeah. Matter of fact, the devices you see behind it, those are all devices we build ourselves.
Now even
Are we?
even stuff that you didn't put up there, I could swear I heard different things. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought like
There is
he
a
said,
ton.
hey, I thought he said like, "Hey Tony" at one time.
He did. Yep.
Yeah, and then like you're saying, and I thought like you said, I think you asked for the names. I don't know if you asked for names of people.
Yep.
I always thought like they were rattling off different names, like, and I couldn't.
They
like very
were.
strange.
And you have a great ear then, because a lot of people, if they're not familiar with it, don't hear those things. And the fact that you did, and yes, they named off about 3 or 4 names in a row, and for you to have picked that up, that's awesome.
Yeah, I saw that. I heard that. It's weird.
You have a good ear. You should be playing music, Mikey Sausage. Just 2 quick questions about this, though. 2 quick questions. One, the first one is, considering that you have that box, I watched on YouTube many times for a couple of years ago, which almost frightened me, was Huff Paranormal, where a guy was making his own boxes. This guy, something Huff. And he was weird. He had these things where he came on and off the internet. He had all this big drama going on, but he had very clear, concise, and I don't know if it's real or not, but he had really clear. So these different boxes, in order to make them come through, for them to manipulate this sound, they clearly must have some sort of if you're giving them one syllable at a time and they're able to combine it very quickly and spit it out there, that's processing like a computer would here. So which means that either time is much faster over there, or 2, they have the ability to process information more quickly than you and I are in the clay world that we live in. What do you think?
Absolutely, they do. I mean, we've gotten answers to a question that we're asking via an EVP before we even finish the sentence of the question, which means they're not hearing me through my voice. It's mental, it's conscious connection, because that answer showed up before I even finished saying it out loud. That is why they have that ability.
Yeah, I noticed. I noticed that there was a couple of answers there that were there, and then you asked the question. It was very strange.
Right, that happens all the time.
And here's something else that's intriguing me too. Do you get multiple EVPs saying the same thing on multiple devices as opposed to just one? Like, in other words, suppose you're in an investigation, you have several pieces of equipment, and you ask a question. Do you get the response on several pieces of equipment?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes we'll have 4 or 5 running. It'll show up on only one. Other times it'll show up on more than one. Usually if somebody asks a question and they're directing their answer only to that person, it'll only show up on the recorder closest to them. But yet, physics says from a sound wave perspective, that's an impossibility. A sound wave would travel fluently to all recorders. Yet when they're only inches apart and it only shows up on one, absolutely an impossibility.
Tony,
which goes to prove that physics doesn't work in their reality.
Correct.
Do we know what the most haunted place in America is? Is there a most haunted place?
There's places that carry that reputation. Waverly Hills. I mean, there's so many of them, I don't even want to start naming them, but
right.
Every place is different and every place interacts differently with the person in it. So you could walk into a place where some other person says this is the most haunted place I've ever stepped foot in because of the experience they've had there, where you could walk in and nothing could happen. So energy attracts to like energy. So if they like you, maybe they're going to react, maybe they're not. So to say that there's one place that's more haunted than any other, that gets difficult.
I have to say thank you because, Tony, you really are very articulate and clear and concise. I think the background your dad grew you up with has been empowering to the business that you're in now, because you're very clear, you're very concise, and you're able to articulate something really difficult to comprehend on a very you're taking the metaphysical and making it physically easy to understand, is what I'm trying to say. So I really appreciate this. And I would love to have you come back and we could play even more of these things because we're running out of time. And so I want to thank you for coming on here. I mean, it's a lot of food for thought. And I know there's a much deeper dive that we can do on this. And Mike, we should clearly have him come back and do more of a deeper dive for a longer time.
I think we should go on location with them. I want to see some of this crap in person. That's interesting to me.
I'm all into it.
And thank you for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. You guys were great. And yeah, if you ever want to hear more, see more, or see what else we are capable of, just let me know.
Awesome.
And how do we find all about you? I understand it's Entity Voices, the website.
Yeah, entityvoices.com. You can go on YouTube and look up Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. I think we have something like 370 videos up there of places we've investigated, clips of captures. It'll keep you fascinated for weeks.
And if someone has a problem in their house and they want to get you, they go to their websites and they can hire you guys.
Go to the website. You can email us. There's phone numbers to call. And then we also run a paranormal show on Monday nights called Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence, where we take not only evidence we captured, but from people all over the states and the world that have captured stuff themselves. So
awesome.
Amazing. Hey, by the way, do you have any children?
Lots. I have 2. My wife has 3. So together we have 5.
It's interesting because I could just imagine Tony in the home, in the room on Saturday night going, "Are you there?" I think Dad's like, Dad, it's dinner time. I'm like, shh, wait a minute. I'm talking to spirit. I'm talking to a guy. I mean, I wonder if the kids are frightened by it. I know we're ending this off, but I just wonder, would kids be frightened? Are your children frightened of this, or are they all cool with this?
My youngest and my wife's middle daughter absolutely love it, and they investigate with us every chance they get. My son started when he was 8, and my stepdaughter started when she was like 14, 15. She's 22 now, and he's 15, so they've been doing this for a while.
Wonderful. That's totally wonderful. Thank you, Tony. Once again, entityvoices.com to get in touch with Tony Rathman and his beautiful wife. And if you have any want to check in and you have a problem with a bad spirit, not the one you're drinking, but one that's in your house that's talking to you, please get entityvoices.com. Thank you so much for your coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay well.
All right, Peasy.
That's awesome, dude. That's really awesome. Really, he's great. Stick around, Tony. We'll be right there.
I want one of the boxes for my house.
Yeah, I want one of those boxes too. Yes.
I'm lonely. I might as well pass the time.
Listen, you're on the internet. There's a whole world of people to talk to. They don't have to be dead. So okay. We also want to thank Mikey Sauce. Besides Tony Rathman, we also want to thank our producer, John Galasso, who you can find here at justlaugh.org. He's the one who books all our talent for the shows, and he has a wonderful book out called A Smile, a Grin, a Laugh That's Life, a wonderful book at justlaugh.org as well. And we want to thank our producer, Leland, who we could also
I have a new costume. I have a new costume for John Galasso. He is now Captain Vertigo.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say. John tonight has a little vertigo, and he was usually here to meet the guest. And unfortunately, he wasn't feeling very well. But we're all going to be praying for him we're praying for some good spirits for him to feel a little better tomorrow. So
Captain Vertigo. I gotta go.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, Mikey. Thanks, Leland. Thanks, John. And thank you, Mr. Rathman. You were wonderful.
All right, you can roll it, Leland.
Oh, he's doing the
Leland,
closing
lay
up
off the fucking booze at night. Jesus Christ.